The Geek Speak Show Volume 2 is produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia LLC.
Well, look at you! You found one of the longest-running geek culture talk shows. This is the Geek Speak Show, Volume 2, featuring nerdy Navajo news with Sean Clenn, and now the Geek Speak Show Book Club. Here's the host of the Geek Speak Show, Henry San Miguel.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Geek Speak Show. So, first things first. I know last week I made it sound like this episode is going to be the Issues of the Day episode. Well, it was going to be until I decided to do one more regular episode for this week. The Issues of the Day episode is going to be the last episode for August, which if you look at your calendar, that means next week. End of August already. So today I'm going to feature something fun and also scary. As we're coming up to October, I figured, why not? Let's get started early. So this is going to be something fun, but also something scary. Exactly, like I said, what October and the Halloween season is going to sound like around here. But first, here's Sean Clenn.
The Geek Speak Show, Volume 2 presents Nerdy Navajo News with Sean Clenn.
Oh, and hey everybody, my name is Sean Clenn, and here's what's happening in geek culture. Sebastian Stan has signed on to a new adaptation of Frankenstein, this time from Romanian director Radu Jude. Radu Jude said that Sebastian reached out to him wanting to collaborate on something, and he thought about proposing a Frankenstein film that would start from the reality of CIA prisoners in Romania from 20 years ago and combine those ideas with Frankenstein monster. So this will be quite a different version of Frankenstein. Now, while the script hasn't been written yet, you can see how Radu Jude handles classic monsters in his adaptation of Dracula premieres at the La Caro Film Festival. Next story we have up for you. Speaking of Frankenstein, Netflix has announced that Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein, starring Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, will get a theatrical release in October 17th and will be available on Netflix on November 7th. Ooh. Warner Bros. Discovery has revealed how many DC films they plan to release per year, and it's pretty surprising. Only 1 to 2 movies per year. Maybe they're quite aware of superhero fatigue. Taking a wait-and-see approach with James Gunn as the head of DC Studios? Maybe both, who knows. But the remaining schedule of releases is 1 to 2 Warner Bros. Pictures tentpoles based on known Warner Bros. IP, the blockbuster movies, 3 to 4 New Line Cinema titles including horror and comedy, 1 to 2 Warner Bros. Animation titles, and a select number of moderately budgeted original films. This might be a sign for the times for all movie studios. We shall see. Next story we have up for you. FX is reportedly developing a Far Cry series that will adapt the video game into a live-action anthology. The news was accidentally posted on Ubisoft's website and quickly taken down. But this is 2025. Nothing stays hidden. Some visitors shared the details, including that the series is being co-created by Rob McElhenney and Noah Hawley. If it's anything like what we've seen on the first 3 episodes of Alien Earth, this might actually be a good adaptation. But we shall remain calm, at least until Ubisoft officially confirms this news. As of today, they haven't confirmed that the series is actually happening. Last story we have up for you. According to a post on Kodak Motion Picture Film's official Instagram, Denis Villeneuve will be shooting parts of Dune Part 3 using film stock, at least in part. While it hasn't been officially confirmed by Villeneuve, it does line up with some of the behind-the-scenes changes to the production team. Greg Fraser, the cinematographer for first 2 Dunes, isn't returning because he will be busy working on Batman Part 2. Linus Sagarin is a new cinematographer and he has a preference for shooting on film. Dune Part 3 has begun filming last month and will be released on Doomsday Weekend, December 18, 2026. That's going to be a good weekend. I'm going to be broke after that for sure. I'm going to be watching a lot of movies. But my name is Sean Clenn, and I hope you all have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you for watching Navajo Nerdy News on the Geek Speak Show. Oh.
That was Nerdy Navajo News with Sean Clenn, exclusively on the Geek Speak Show, Volume 2.
Attention fans of horror and paranormal media. I invite you to pick up and read a copy of Eerie Expeditions magazine. You won't find interviews with paranormal TV celebrities or a retelling of the same old "this place has been haunted for years" type of stories. Eerie Expeditions magazine is filled with articles about real people dealing with real hauntings. Founded and edited by author C.L. Thomas, Eerie Expeditions is your start to a supernatural frontier. Visit eerieexpeditionsmagazine.com to get a single issue or a yearly subscription. Let me assume for a few seconds. Because the Halloween episode has always been the most downloaded episode in the show's history, I'm assuming you all enjoy getting scared. I'm assuming that's because you've had an experience that you just can't explain. Disembodied voices, shadows out of the corner of your vision, unexplained sounds when you're home alone. On this year's Halloween episode, Henry and Sean Clenn want to try something new. They want to hear your experiences and share them on the Halloween episode. You can record your experience and send it as an MP3 file to geek.speak@gmx.com. If you'd rather not record yourself, but you still want to share your story, write it out in an email and Henry or Sean Clenn will read it back on the Halloween episode. However you send it, make sure to put Halloween story in the subject line and send it to geek.speak@gmx.com. This will be an interesting and spooky Halloween episode.
Now back to the Geek Speak Show.
I'm back. I'm here. Like I said at the start of the episode, scary and fun is what I'm going to talk about. That, of course, describes one franchise in particular, Ghostbusters. You know the movies, the cartoons, the cereal, the toys, the song, of course. A lot of you have probably been a Ghostbuster for Halloween or at a convention. Some of you filmmakers in the audience, and I know there's a lot of you, you've probably made a Ghostbusters fan film. But how many of you can say that your fan film was a big part of your wedding? Well, Indy and Scott Cramton can. I have their Ghostbusters of New Orleans film linked in the show description. You might want to pause and watch it if you haven't, then come back and listen. But let's hear the story of how the Ghostbusters became a part of Scott and Indy's wedding. Hey, Scott and Indy, how are you guys? Welcome to the show.
We're great.
We're great. How are you?
Yeah, we're excited. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. So let me start right at the beginnings. I guess, Scott, this is for you. When and how did you get the idea to do this for your wedding?
Well, I've wanted to make a real movie with my friends. I grew up, like a lot of people, I grew up with my friends. And we made a bunch of movies. I always had dreamed of have them all out somewhere special and us making like a real movie, not just like a no budget thing that we're doing in one day from start to finish. And, popped into my head for the wedding. And, she was like, well, what do you really want to do for your bachelor party? And I realized what I really wanted to do was that. If I got like one time, you get a little older, and eventually it becomes so hard to find a good reason to be able to get together with your friends. It's kind of sad, but to get them all together and everybody, when you get married, that's one of the few times that like everybody's wife, everybody's significant other, they're all like, yeah, you can go out and do this. And they were all pretty thrilled that we weren't going to Vegas. So they were fine with it.
Yeah. Well, Indy, for you, when did Scott tell you about it, and what was your reaction when he first told you what his idea was?
So he first told me about it. It was getting closer to the wedding, a few months before it, and I asked him, like he said, what he wanted to do, and he started talking me through the Ghostbusters idea. And like most fiancés, they probably would think it's a really lame or whack idea to do a Ghostbusters fan film for a bachelor party. How crazy is that? But for me, I was like thrilled. I encouraged him to do it. I thought it was the best idea ever. And I'm like, yeah. And I told him I'll even help with production on it, like helping behind the scenes. And he was just like, no worries about that because I actually wrote a part for you in it. I said, so you want me to be in the movie with you and all of your best friends for your bachelor party? And he's like, yeah. So I hung out with all of his friends. I hung out with Scott on set. It was a lot of fun. It was honestly one of the better experiences.
It was her way of getting to know my friends.
Yeah, and I met them before, but like it was definitely more intimate time with them, especially while Scott was filming his scenes. And we were just all, cracking jokes and just having a good time.
And never all at once, too.
No,
that was a big thing.
I got to have very individual moments with all of his friends. And yeah, it was great. I thought it was a great idea from the beginning. I never questioned it.
Was it shot in New Orleans, or where'd you shoot it?
New Orleans, yeah. We live in New Orleans. So we shot in New Orleans. I was always shocked that, and I really looked into it, and there was no Ghostbusters New Orleans stuff. There was Louisiana, and I love those guys. They're great, the Louisiana Ghostbusters, but there was no like specific New Orleans, and New Orleans is like the most haunted city in America. Yeah. That was interesting that nobody really pulled that together.
Yeah, honestly, I've always wondered even why the movies haven't gone into New Orleans. I mean, if anything, the movies should touch a little bit. Like you said, it is one of the most haunted cities in America, so why not? Yeah. Ghostbusters would be perfect there. So once you knew that it's happening, it's a thing, what were the first things that you guys did to get the shoot ready?
Oh, so I called a friend of mine, Brian Mandel, and I'm like, hey, do you know even one human being that's associated with the film industry in New Orleans? And he's done a bunch of stuff, and he gave me a contact, Rachel, and then Rachel quite literally found 100% of the people for us, and she was the sound person on the film. But what was crazy is I just hit the right time for it. We shouldn't have been able to get the people we got, and we shouldn't have been able to get them on that price, but just nothing was filming. Nothing at all was filming in town. And so we got like just the best people. Like so many people had just gotten off working on stuff like Sinners and things like that, were like legitimately, these were like high-end super movies, and they just didn't have anything to do. So they kind of were fine with working for a mid to reasonable, but definitely not high budget range. And they did that. I sourced everything myself. I Airbnb'd a lot of the filming locations and got semi-consent from them. I have a feeling they don't think it was as big of a movie as they thought. I think I kind of played it more like, yeah, we're going to be shooting some stuff. Is that okay? Like, oh, yes, we don't care. And yeah, I just kept going with it. I spent most of my waking hours doing this when I didn't have to do my other main job. And it came together in a way that was shocking. Mm-hmm. It's way better than it should be. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, he wrote the script, and we had definitely a few nights like going over lines together and just making sure it was really good. And we definitely had to find someone with the Ghostbusters car, so that went well too.
We actually walked so nobody just wanted to rent us a car. They wanted to get to know us. So the Louisiana Ghostbusters, we actually drove up to Baton Rouge, and we walked in one of their parades to get to know all of them so they could see we're kind of on the up and up. And then eventually they were like, well, do you want it in the same world? So we actually got one of them to be in the movie, and it corresponds with the films they've been doing for the past 6-7 years now, and they're actually just about to wrap their entire series in the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. I was gonna about to ask about the Ecto One, because when I also got to say, I know you guys listening, when you hear fan film, you don't expect much. Now again, it's not done by Columbia or Sony or anything, but it looks the effects, everything looks really, really good. And we talked a little bit before we started recording. You guys didn't tell me to say this. Me having watched it, I'm telling you, it does look good. It does look like it looks professional. I'll say that. It doesn't look like a fan film at all. So congrats to everybody on that. You. Great job of doing that.
I mean, like, this is a big portion of my savings that I just put into this, knowing I couldn't get it back. But that's what dreams are, right? Like the idea that you could do something And those moments are precious. The one thing I've watched a lot is the credits, and I have to say, like, just to see, photos of me and my friends from like 1999 all the way through 2025 and the journey that we've been on. And it's a love letter to India. It's a love letter to my friends. It's a love letter to Ghostbusters. Definitely the best comment we got was, just there's so much love in this film for every aspect of it. And I wrote it really close to home. It takes place the day before our wedding.
Yeah.
And we did premiere it at the wedding. That was part of the wedding.
That was like the reception.
Yes.
It was a Ghostbusters fan film movie premiere.
Like the common weddings,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you go to a wedding and hey, a movie screening breaks out. Why not?
Yeah. And we shared some of that in the credits, showing what actually like to be there.
Now, when you started doing this, was it? Well, I guess we can talk spoiler. I mean, there's no Death Star blows up kind of moment, but
No, I think probably the biggest spoiler is the combination of a completely different franchise that we kind of put in it in a way.
Yeah.
Because it is Ghostbusters meets, let's say Conjuring, I guess would be fair, without saying the actual name and stuff.
Yes.
Which I think we'd probably do even better if I like titled it that. But I kind of went against that because I thought the spoiler of it and it being this particular thing, this particular combination, was really interesting and special. And I think it's only good if you kind of see that happen midway through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit. All of you listen, you'll know exactly what we're talking about when you see it. There's a certain doll, I'll say. You'll know what we're talking about the moment you see that doll.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. No, but where I was going is at the end when like every Ghostbusters movie has to have a cheering audience for the Ghostbusters because they saved the day. Were those your friends or were those people in the neighborhood or how'd you get all that?
Yeah, you can go for it.
This is like the best story ever. Honestly, one of my favorite moments. There were times where we were working on the film and then we would pause and then keep shooting, just like a regular film set. But then there were moments I would be talking to Scott and then he's like, "Hey babe, I'll be right back." I'm like, "Okay." He would just like disappear. But every time he disappeared, there were like handfuls of people just randomly coming ready to shoot. So pretty much like those people that you see are people that we met the day of who just happened to have interest in what we were doing and just willfully wanted to be extras, just voluntarily. They just were interested. And when Scott would tell them what we were doing, because so many people were coming up to us, the car was out there, the Ghostbusters car was out there, and they were just so interested. And somehow they just all agreed to just be a part of it. I don't know how Scott does it, but like every time I looked, there were just clumps of people.
Yeah, so none of them I know. I don't even know if they'll ever see the movie, if I'm being honest, because we weren't incredibly good at getting their name. But so there's lots of great comments and some critiques, some totally fair. Somebody mentions like, why would he wear the pack like just when he's hanging around the station? I'm like, that's a fair point. All I have is he's bored. But one of the comments that is not true is they said it's really unrealistic that a bunch of people would crowd around just to see if the Ghostbusters were doing something. And I'm like, no, it's completely realistic.
Yeah.
It's exactly what really happened. And if you watch the movie carefully, there's that amazing scene, and then we set up the tracking shot or the crane shot, right? And by the time we hit to the crane shot for the car moving in for the very next scene, half the people had to have left. So nobody's commented on it, but it doesn't perfectly match. But that one moment, one of the greatest moments of my life, it was a real crowd. I just convinced them all to stay and be in the movie.
And to just cheer.
And they were so in it. They all just knew what to do exactly. That was the take you see in that is like the only take of that happening. And it worked. It absolutely worked. There's stuff when you make it, you actually like tear up a little bit. And I'll tell you, right after we buzz the ghost and you hit the, you hit the thing and we come out and stuff, I tear up, man. That is one of like the greatest things in my entire life.
It was one of the best moments. It was honestly one of my favorites. Scott knows how to work his magic, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also doesn't hurt that, when you tell somebody, hey, and seeing the Ecto one there, that, that helps a lot too. But when you tell somebody, hey, you want to be in a Ghostbusters movie? They don't even care if it's a fan film. They'll just say yes. Yes, I want to be in it no matter what.
And shout out to Colin Diebold. That's his car. He's like one of those complete savants where he built almost all of that himself from scratch. He's an absolute wizard, and he's part of the Louisiana Ghostbusters. So.
Yep, very talented guy.
Yeah, and all of you listen, if you're wondering, like, wait, where's this movie? Well, I have a link to it on the show description. You can find it there. It's on the American Immersion Theater's YouTube channel. That's what it is. But again, I have a link on the show description. You guys can click on it, take you there, and watch it. Let's talk about the Ghostbusters franchise for both of you. I mean, Scott, obviously you are, but I guess India, this is more for you. Mm-hmm. Are you as big a fan of Ghostbusters as Scott obviously is?
I mean, that's unfair, man. That's a little unfair.
I think I am just a fan of art. I'm a fan of laughter. I'm a fan of movies. I'm a fan of film.
I showed her all the Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
she had never seen them.
Yeah, he showed me all of them. And obviously I'm like familiar with Ghostbusters, but I hadn't seen them. So before we shot the fan film, we, for a certain period of time, just watched all of the Ghostbusters films, basically back to back. And I did like it. I loved them. I loved every single one of them. I can see why they're all so popular. And I'm just happy that I got to experience it, and seeing all the Ghostbusters films for the first time, and then being able to shoot one with my now husband and all of his friends. It was the best. It was the best ever. And just to be able to recreate something so magical that's been around for so long. It's just such a timeless movie. All of them, honestly. And to redo it with him was just absolutely amazing. But as big of a film, I think if I say yes, it would do Scott some injustice here. So, but I am a fan. I am definitely a fan.
She wouldn't have spent a portion of her life savings making a fan film, but does like them.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Indy, you kind of said it there, but what did you both think of the new Ghostbuster movies, the two sequels that we've seen?
Oh, they were great.
Yeah, I really like them.
I really
I'm not, I'm not the kind of fan that, I don't know, like, I just want them to keep making more. I think if I have any disappointment about Frozen Empire, it's just it costs too much for them to make, because it legitimately did well in the theaters, but they had to drop like $200 million on it, which made it cost prohibitive to make more. My only critique on the 2016 one is, what makes Ghostbusters work is anybody in shape, out of shape can be kind of a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
And no Ghostbuster, like Ghostbusters is not like, they're not competent. I mean, they're great, but they're not like these super athletes. And I did not like that they were just doing some roll, like they had just invented the gear in like 3 days and they're tripping over their feet, and like 2 days later they're doing like rolls and busting 30 ghosts in the same time.
Yeah.
So I always want I want a Ghostbusters film to feel accessible, like you could be part of it, you could join the team if you wanted to. Just the whole you're hired, they just hire Winston Zedmore. That's what's so special about it, or them going up the stairs, and like that's one of the biggest hardships of that whole first movie, right? They're like, oh God, we're not athletic enough to go up the stairs.
Yeah.
That's a special movie. So are they all perfect? No. I absolutely loved Afterlife, Frozen Empire.
I really love that one too.
I like Frozen Empire. I loved going to Universal Studios and seeing the Frozen Empire thing. That was cool.
Oh yeah. We like Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
They had a Frozen Empire haunted house, and that was pretty cool. So literally I was able to watch that movie and go experience it. So it's been Ghostbusters has been me watching it and experiencing it. in a very immersive way, in some way, shape, or form. It's been really cool.
Yeah, I'm like jealous. She got to watch like all 4 movies in like in less than a year. Yeah, for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like us where we had to wait years between.
Yeah.
And years and years and years. And oh my God, and teaser, and what are they going to do? And then be like, okay, I guess a video game. That's okay.
And then there's me who gets to see all of it.
You know, Bill Murray. I actually talked to one of the Ghostbusters, and he actually told me that Bill Murray only agreed to do the voiceover for that video game if he could do it while on the golf course, and that's real. He did that over a phone on the golf course. That is how he did it.
That is very Bill Murray. It actually is what that is. Yeah, but then again, that's why we love him. That's why it's Bill Murray. Now, I know I have in this audience, I know I have a lot of up and coming filmmakers, people that want to make their own film. You guys, it's like you said, it's not in theaters. And actually, before I ask this question, let me ask this other part. You make it very, very clear in the website. You're not making any money out of this. You don't own any of this. Has anybody from the studios or any of the actors, have they seen your cover, all the covers that's come out the last few days, and has anyone from the franchise reached out to you guys?
I mean, I think you're hoping no. I mean, obviously, there's some world in which you're like, oh man, I hope one of them calls, but that's not realistic, and they can't even publicly comment on them. And there's not a lot of scenarios, I guess. I'm trying to think, Reitman, he kind of had like, he's kind of immune in a way. He can do stuff like that. And he's been seen wearing patches and stuff like that from different ones. But
yeah.
Ultimately, no, and I think that's good news. I mean, half my fear was this was just going to get pulled down off of YouTube, man.
Yeah.
I was terrified of it, but I decided I'm just going to use every music I want to use. I'm going to use everything I want to use. There's no punches pulled, nothing's cheap about it. One of my least favorite things is when it's like this very small. You know what they're trying to do, but they're kind of not. They're dancing around like I didn't want to be like the ghost catcher guys. You know what I'm saying? Like what we're doing, but we're not. We're technically. I just felt like I'd go for it and hope it goes for the best. And
yeah.
So far, it's been up. It's been up 3 days or so, and it hasn't been pulled down. Maybe. Just about 4 now. It's gone much better than I would have expected.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's over 18,000, which puts us right in the middle of any Ghostbusters fan film, and a little on the high side. And most of those to get to that point took months and years a lot of times. So I'm really thrilled with it, man.
Yeah, we're so happy and grateful.
It is so much better than it should be. And I think the comments say that, we're getting closer to 1,000 likes. Almost all the comments are positive. It's really amazing.
One thing I've learned from talking to studios over the years here on this show is their attitude has changed a little bit when it comes to fan films, where they understand that even if the studio have nothing to do with it, like you said, the comments, the reaction from the fans, from Ghost or whatever the film is, whatever the fandom is, whatever their reaction is, that the studios, they react accordingly. For example, if all of your comments were negative, they hated it, why'd you guys do this, they would probably shut it down then. But since they're seeing it, and believe me, I think, Scott, they have teams that scour through social media for all this, anything related to their IP.
Yeah, no, I run a company that runs pretty extensive with that kind of stuff. I own a Princess Party company, superhero company, stuff like that. So we live in this world quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if they haven't pulled it by now, I don't think they're going to. That's what I'm saying.
YouTube will sometimes randomly pull it, but that's
5 years later.
5 years later or something. They'll be like, that car sounds similar to another car. We're pulling your. So there's that, and that's why we have GhostbustersNewOrleans.com, or New Orleans Ghostbusters. We have both, and that way the movie will always live on. So it's on YouTube right now, and it should be forever. But if it ever gets pulled, it'll be on that website, and it'll just be like living there. Because right behind the YouTube, we have like just the movie itself.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just keep it on YouTube where it's more accessible for people because that's what fan film should be, right?
Yeah.
At the very least accessible.
Yeah, that's the first word. Fan. It's for the fans.
Yeah.
Although this one, it did say in the press conference, the press release that I got, it did say that the original movie you shot was a little bit different than what we've seen.
Oh, so yeah, the one that appeared in our wedding is very close. It just wasn't finished.
Yeah,
we finished shooting it. We finished shooting it. My God, when?
Sure, April.
Yeah, like around the April, almost mid-April range. So Chris Vang, who's the editor and a good friend of mine, and also works as the videographer for my company as well. He's very talented, but man, he did a lot of sleepless nights to pull it together for that wedding. Yeah. But the ending didn't have all the special effects you see now. Technically, I like in the hole of the cross, it's working, and like nothing was happening. It's just like imagine there's so in the one you see now, it's completed. That's really what that is. And obviously, like anything, no art is ever finished, right? So you always want to go back and make tweaks and
just keep
stuff like that.
Better.
But I think we're moving on. If it ever goes big enough, we'll do something else with it. But
yeah. So what you're saying is the story basically was the same throughout.
Story was pretty the same, yeah. A lot of special effects though got added, like a tremendous amount, yeah.
Yeah. So where I was gonna go is, like I was saying earlier, I have a lot of up and coming filmmakers, people that want to make their own film. So what advice would you have for anybody who's listening and wishing they could make, whether Ghostbusters or whatever it is, their own fan film?
I would say to
be a supportive wife.
To not wait until you feel like you have like the perfect product or the perfect script or the perfect this or the perfect that. Just create it and do it. Sometimes you might not be able to afford an actual camera yet. Well, put a really good setting on your phone and just shoot it, or maybe collaborate with people to really execute something, but not waiting for the perfect time. Like, I feel like there's no real perfect time to do anything. There's always going to be something following what you want to do, or what you're going to do, or what you're trying to do. So really just do it. I think sometimes people get caught up in like the perfection of trying to make sure all their I's are dotted.
Yeah, when I have that money, when I have that thing, it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that was profound, I think I read it in Stephen King's On Writing, was just almost 100% of people in America have half a book.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody's written half a book, and almost nobody's written a book. And that's very true. I think that's the thing, like, just power through, make your art, do your things, believe in what you're doing, and just make it happen. And like, we have more and more access. It is so much more accessible. I mean, my God, if you were in the 80s right now, just a print of this film would have cost $4,000 or $5,000, which is like $12,000 now. So we're so accessible. Just make your thing and realize that you're not going to completely love it, but it's going to be the thing you make before you make your next thing.
Yeah, and there will always be something, like Scott said, like, you're not going to always like fully love it. I mean, realistically, you get dressed for the day, you always think something could be better. Your hair gets done, oh, well, they missed a spot. It's always going to be something. And another important thing is to collaborate. Like, sometimes a lot of times there are a lot of people who want to create with you. And if you have a group of actors here who just want to act, and then you have a group of videographers here, just collaborating with each other, because everybody's trying to reach the same destination, which is creating an art form that they love and truly appreciate. And I think if you do that, things always work well in that sense. Just networking and collaborating, because you're always going to find someone who has the same goals and visions as you, and you never know where the relationship could take you in the future. Yeah,
beautifully said. And I will say also, to your point, India, earlier, a lot of people wait not just to have a certain amount of money, but also the right camera or this type of camera.
Exactly.
iPhones are theirs are great cameras. So sometimes they look even better than the red cameras or all the big expensive cameras.
Absolutely.
So yeah, don't let the or lack of equipment stop you is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And find like a really beautiful, understanding wife.
Yeah. No, I mean, we laugh, but it is true because
I just kissed him on his forehead. I love it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not a filmmaker, but I've been in the radio industry for a long time. And I've always said, anybody who wants to be in the entertainment industry, you do have to meet someone that is very understanding of what it is. When I first met, well, she wasn't my wife then, but when it started to get serious, I said, look, you need to understand, I'm already married, and her name is Radio. And she did, which is why more than 2 decades later, we're still together.
I love that, Henry. Yeah. That's great, man.
So yeah, I mean, we laugh, but yes, that is very true. But yeah, and even not just a wife, just a really, really, really strong and deep support system, no matter who it is. That's what you need to have.
I couldn't have made this without her.
Yeah. So the website, I have it linked up. You guys have social media, or is it all just on you guys' website?
We're really just it's through American Immersion Theater. Ultimately I wasn't planning to build this as a entire franchise and life system. I wanted it to be one special movie. But I will say there's a lot of demand, so maybe if I can convince my friend to get together to do it again, that would be amazing. It would be one of the best things in my life. So like and share if you really want that to happen.
Yeah.
But
he'll do it too.
We don't have social. We don't have anything like that. Just check out NewOrleansGhostbusters.com or find it on YouTube. You can search New Orleans Ghostbusters. It seems to come right up there, and watch it, man.
Yeah. You if you're a Ghostbusters fan and you haven't seen it, you definitely have to see it. You will. It's not canon, of course, but you guys definitely
not
have to
legally.
see this.
But I comment everything through Frozen Empire. So what would the world be like after Frozen Empire? Because they can ignore a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the 80s, maybe, because there's not a lot of documentation. But New York froze over in the last one. Ghosts are very real now. Like I think at that point in time, if a city freezes over, people are with 1 million cameras. People are kind of like, okay, I guess there is ghosts and Ghostbusters are real. So it kind of comes from that perspective at that point in time, taking into account Frozen Empire.
Yeah, which love it about that film. So again, Scott, India, great job. Everybody really though, everybody that helped you guys out, great job on everything. Congratulations on the wedding, and you started already, but I wish you many, 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 many years of happiness.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Henry.
This is the Geek Speak Show Book Club. In here, you'll find books new and old, comic books, graphic novels, anything you can read, which will interest you if you like this show. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show Book Club.
This week, my selection for the book club is a book that I actually haven't read yet, but I will be starting soon, right after I finish Lord of the Rings. Remember, I said I started rereading it again last week, so when I'm done, I'm going to start reading this book. But the book is called Genesis of Oblivion. Some of you might remember that book. You may have even read it when it was first published. This, however, this is a new version, the director's cut, if you will. Maxwell Alexander Drake is the author, and he joins me now in the book club. Welcome, Max. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. So let's start first of all. For those of you that may not be familiar, give us a synopsis of Genesis of Oblivion.
I mean, it's epic fantasy. It's 5 novels. Bad things happen to good people. They have to rise up. They have to sacrifice. They have to struggle to try and save their own, save the world, save themselves. I don't really have a good elevator pitch for it. It's a massive 5 POV, very intricate epic fantasy saga. I mean, what's the synopsis of Game of Thrones? It becomes very difficult to really do an elevator pitch on something this large.
Okay. Well,
unfortunately.
How is this a new version though of the 2008 book when it first came out?
So mine is a tale of woe. So the first book came out It was actually called Farmers and Mercenaries. I decided to ditch the titles even with this rewrite to kind of separate them. It won awards. It actually Sony read it and became huge fans of mine and hired me as the lead writer for a $600 million game for them. It really launched my career. The second book came out, won awards, kept growing in fan base, and then in 2015 I got hit with something that pretty much crippled my brain, and I kind of imploded physically, and I didn't realize it because it was a slow thing, and basically it has to do with my endocrine system, and so my brain just wasn't working, and it like I said, you don't notice it. It's this slow creep. And so by the time I realized that that something was seriously wrong, a couple years had gone by. So when I got that fixed and got back into everything, I then got cancer. So that took me out for a few years. And so now here we are 10 years later, and I'm back. And even though I couldn't write creatively during that time, I was still invited all over the world to lecture on writing. I was still writing. The only thing I could write was nonfiction, because I'd been teaching for so long that writing a nonfiction book on creative writing is more me just I've been saying the same things over and over again for decades. So it was just me getting that on paper, but my brain would not work creatively. However, I did 100% grow as a writer during that time. You know, I've trained probably 30,000 writers over the last 20 years. I run a large online writing platform for writers. I do classes and so on and so forth. And I'm just a better writer now. And so I could have just come back and finished the series, or since it has been 10 years, the publisher's out of business, the books are out of print, and I now am so much of a better writer that it's almost like a different Arthur voice, that I just was like, you know what? I'm going to rewrite the whole thing. I'm just going to rewrite it. And it is mostly the same, but it's also incredibly different.
Yeah, I was going to say, when these new editions, the rewrite, did it change the original story? Or how without giving it all away, how is it different?
Well, I will admit something that I've never admitted publicly. A handful of my friends know this. So when I wrote Farmers and Mercenaries, there's a character on the cover. It's a big lion dude, and he's one of the POV characters. And I really wanted fans to like this character because he was the big bad. But I screwed up. Readers didn't like him. They freaking loved him. He was the fan favorite. And I kind of realized that if I made him the big bad, I would get crucified. So I had a 5-novel story arc set up for that story. No one noticed this. It worked fine. When I admit it, they still can't even really see it. But I actually created a completely different 5-novel story arc. And then for the second book, I curved the story to it. And it works. It won awards. Everyone still loves it. No one noticed it. It was things like in the original story, gods weren't real. The religion of the world was a man-made religion that did not have anything behind it. And there was a reason for that, for the story that I was telling. In the second book, you actually go meet a god. So obviously that's different. But in the first book, I wrote religion is real. You know, the people think it's real. So it didn't hurt me as far as from the story standpoint. However, there were things that I laid in the first book that, while they were just hints of where I was going in the future, were never going to come to fruition. And then also it meant that I didn't lay anything in the first book that were hints to where we were actually going. And so one of the big reasons why I am really, really excited that I decided to do this is now I'm writing a first book for this new 5-book series. So the stories are mostly intact. Everyone who read Farmers and Mercenaries will, the stories are almost the same. Now there's a new character story because I had added a character in the second book that I needed for that story arc. Well, now I can bring her into the first book and I can start her because she didn't exist when I wrote the first book, because I didn't need her for the story that I was telling. I created her for the other story, for this new story, for what it actually is going to be. And so I can now tell her story in the first book and expand upon where she comes from and how she gets involved and everything like that. So it's just better. And then there's some things, this was my first, it was my ninth book that I'd written, but it was my first published book. And little things like in the original, one of the characters there's this girl that really is hot on him, but he's kind of like this shy guy, and they never really do anything, which was fine because I didn't need that for that story. But in the new story, he actually goes back to her in book 3, and it would have been weak him going back because they were just friends. And why would you risk your life for this girl that you just kind of met this one time? So in the rewrite, they actually consummate their relationship. They are together. And then it makes it so much more dramatic for him to have to go back and do what he does and risk his life for this thing, because now they have a relationship. Little things like that. So everyone who read the original series is going to recognize the story completely. There's a lot of new twists that didn't exist because, again, now the first book matches up with the story that I'm telling. And that's the biggest reason why I really wanted to rewrite that first book. And then the curving that I had to do in book 2, I don't have to do anymore because now I'm just on the right train track.
Oh, I was thinking actually where you were saying that. So I guess the people that did that, and there was a lot of them that did get the first 2 books, those are now collector's items, you could say.
I mean, maybe. I do have people that buy them still. In fact, one of my students, I just found out last night, she was like, yeah, I've got an original copy of that. Because we were talking about something, and she's like, and I'm comparing them to your rewrite, and it's vastly different. Well, so here's my favorite brag. I'll try not to break my arm, pat myself on the back on this, but I have a beta reader that's been with me since the beginning. So she's even read the 3rd book that was never released. And like I said, most of the book is intact. So the 2nd book, you meet this farm boy, and literally in the scene, he wakes up, he goes downstairs, he eats breakfast, and he goes off to farm. That is literally what happens in the scene. It was absolutely the weakest chapter in the original version. But that character does become one of the fan favorites, not as much as the Lion Dude, but he's definitely one that people did gravitate to. And it's actually this beta reader's favorite character. His name is Arderi. And she reread the rewrite. And in the rewrite, he wakes up, he goes downstairs, he eats breakfast, he goes off to farm. That's it. Same exact chapter. But at the end of it, she stopped and she was like, I really love Arderi. He is my absolute favorite character. And then she started to do the next chapter and she stopped and she was like, wait a minute. It took me several chapters to fall in love with this character, and I love this character. And she's like, well, it's probably because I've read 3 books. And so she started again on the next chapter, and she's like, no. I really like that character. And so she pulled the original off the shelf and she read it, and she got to the end of it. She's like, yeah, I don't care about this character. And then she reread the original and she's like, I love this character. And then she reread the original and she's like, I don't care about this character. So she calls me up and she's like, I don't understand. They're the exact same scene. He wakes up, he goes downstairs, he eats breakfast, he goes off the farm. There's no difference in these 2 chapters. Why is it at the end of one, I love him, and at the other, I just don't care? And I'm like, yeah, 15 years of writing experience. Like, now I can take a chapter like that and actually connect you to the character where I couldn't 15 years ago. So I'm just a better writer now.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing that story because, as you know, not a lot of people, especially writers, they don't have a chance to go back and redo things that they did at the beginning because they're a better writer now. So it's interesting hearing how you got a chance, number one, to do that, and how you become a better writer in from the very first time that the books were published.
Yeah. I mean, all artists grow. You know, whether you're painting or drawing or writing, artists are going to grow, and all artists hate everything we did, in the past. That's just a common thing that all artists experience. But it is nice. And the biggest reason is again, if I had just continued on, because the 3rd book was written, the publisher just went out of business before I had turned it in. And I was working for Sony at the time. So I was stupid busy with that game. And I was like, you know what? I'll find a home for it. I'm going to concentrate on Sony. And, then my health issues and everything like that. So it was a unique experience as far as having the 2 award-winning books out and then coming back 10 years later to finish the next 3 books. And I was just like, I don't want to write on top of that. I won't be happy with this. And again, I'm such a different writer that it wouldn't even feel the same. It would feel like a completely different author took over. So yeah, there was just a lot of reasons that just made me go, I can't just keep going out. Because I have a large fan base of people before I, had all my health issues. And I was out, we met at Comic-Con. I went to Gen Con directly after that. I'm going to Salt Lake Fan X here in a couple weeks. And I have to look my fans in the face and they're like, we want that 3rd book. I mean, it's crazy because there isn't a month that goes by that I don't get a handful of fan mail that's still like, man, I just read the first 2 books for the 17th time. Still some of my favorite books, but man, I got it. When are you going to get that 3rd book out? Because it's one story. So even though each book ends in a satisfying way, it definitely is not the end of the story. It is one contiguous story all the way to the end. So you are seriously left hanging with each volume because it's epic fantasy. It's not adventure fantasy. I'm not gonna wrap everything up in a nice, neat little bow in book 1, and then we'll start a new thing in book 2. It's one story. So, these fans that have been waiting for 10 years for this 3rd book, I do have a lot of sympathy for them.
Yeah. Well, it's actually another interesting question. You were saying that we all know, especially listeners to this show, we all know there is one creator. We refer to him as the Maker. He was actually at Comic-Con this year also. He tried that. He tried to come back to one of his greatest works and redid it. We know it as a special edition. Everybody wasn't happy with it. Why do you think so far your readers, they are happy with this new rewrite?
Because it's still the exact same story. I didn't try and remake everything. I did change some things. So like one of the things that I changed was the magic system. In the original version, there are 2 parts to magic, and now there are 3 parts to magic. And the reason why I did that was by the time I got to the 3rd book, having one of the main characters be able to both do combat and healing put me in situations where I'd really like to take the healing away from them right now. It would make this so much more difficult on them. And so with the rewrite, I do now have magic. The healing magic is completely separate. So there is no main character who can just heal themselves anymore like there was in the original. And so that allows me as a storyteller to take that ability away if I need to, where it's like, oh yeah, no, you just don't have any healing. Sorry. Deal with it, pig boy. So it creates more drama and more conflict and everything like that. But I don't know. So far, there's been maybe 5,000 people, 8,000 people have read the first 15 chapters, because the first 15 chapters are available for free. Anyone can go to Starving Writer Studio and download the first 15 chapters of this. It's about 60,000 words, so it's almost as big as the first Harry Potter book. The book will end up being big. It'll be a little over 300,000 words, I'm thinking, by the time it's all said. It doesn't come out until next year. My goal is to have physical copies I was invited next year to be at Origins, which is in June. So my goal is to have it at Origins, and then obviously I'll have it at Comic-Con and Gen Con and Fan X and everything else that I do next year. But they can see it. And so, and also I just have and again, one of the worst things about being a writer is you can't talk about yourself, because if I was a brain surgeon, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm a famous brain surgeon. I've written books on brain surgery. People invite me all over the world to teach on brain surgery. I have a very high success rate as a brain surgeon. You'd be like, wow, that's amazing. But as an artist, if you go, oh no, I'm a really good writer, and people, invite me all over the world to speak about writing, and I have very high success rate as a writer, you'd go, oh wow, you can't write and you're an arrogant jerk. And it's like, I don't understand that. But I do have a very high success rate. If I can get somebody who's even halfway interested in fantasy to read me, the chances of them becoming a fan are higher than most. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because again, we really can't talk good about ourselves, or we're just a narcissist.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where that comes from, because when you say that, when it's actual things that you've done, there's proof. Whether it's a movie, a book, in your case, whatever it is, it's not really bragging. You're just recapping your career. I don't know why people think you're a narcissist. Nah, not really.
I run an average. I run an average of 4.9 out of 5 stars. Most people, and I know where it comes from. It's subjective. You can't, like, if you're a brain surgeon, and it's a bad analogy because if you're a brain surgeon, your patient either lived or died.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty cut and dry. But there are people that read me that go, I don't like you. You suck. And they're right. I'm a terrible writer for them. I'm the worst writer for them. Luckily, about 95 out of every 100 people think that I actually am a good writer for them. And they're right. So that's the thing. And that's why writers really can't, or artists really can't talk about ourselves, because there is no truth. There's only the reader and what they feel about it. So, again, I don't run a 5 out of 5 stars. I run a 4.9 out of 5 stars. So there are people out there that do not care. I'm a very immersive writer. When you read my reviews, you'll get stuff like, don't read Drake if you need sleep. I never feel like I'm reading when I read Drake. I feel like I'm just watching a movie. I don't even remember turning pages when I read Drake. You'll get stuff like that because I'm a very visual, very visceral writer. I will. Everyone says when you read a normal book, you're on the outside looking in. When you read Drake, you're literally in the room looking out. And I do write that way. I'm a very immersive writer. I put you in the scene. I make you live that moment. Some people don't like that. Some people, it's too much information. It's too much detail. It's too much whatever. Actually, one of my favorite professional reviews of my work, because I'm a huge Robert Jordan fan, but I have several professionals that have said, basically, Maxwell Alexander Drake is a less wordy Robert Jordan. The thing is, our word counts are the same. I just don't write fluff. I write constant action and motion and, drama and story. And you're just constantly being rushed forward, even though it's the exact same number of words that you're going to get from any other epic fantasy writer.
Now, I'm somebody who doesn't believe in coincidences, but think about this one. If you had never gone through your health issues, especially battling and surviving cancer, do you think you still would have wanted to go back and rewrite and release the books like the way you're doing?
So yes, because I had already started. I can't say this in front of fans because, again, I have a huge fan base that loves Farmers and Mercenaries. It hurts me. There's so much that I wanted to do with it that I wasn't strong enough as a writer. I mean, I didn't even mean to publish it. I was one of the first authors. I've got an IT background. And back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was one of the only authors on the internet that had a web page. And so it was just the 9th book that I was writing. I was writing and throwing up on this web page. And I was going to a writer's conference, and not as a professional. I mean, I wasn't even published back then. I was just going as an attendee. And I had this acquisition agent or editor, Patrick Labruto. He was Raymond Feist's first editor. He was Stephen King's, Isaac Asimov's. He's worked for every major publishing house in the entire industry. He loves to say his claim to fame is he was the first American editor to reject Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because he thought it was stupid and wouldn't sell. So he's got a good sense of humor too. But he actually reached out to me because at the time it was such an oddity for somebody to have a website, and the convention I was going to only had about 80 of us that were going. And so they were like, hey, since you're an attendee, you can have a paragraph in our guide, a little paragraph of what you are. So I put my website in there. And so he reaches out to me and he's like, hey, you've got this thing on your website. What are you doing with that? I was like, I'm just writing it. And he's like, why don't you take that down? And when I'm in Vegas, let's go out to dinner. Let's talk about this. And so literally, I didn't even submit anything. I didn't even finish writing it when it was purchased. So, obviously I was doing something right, but I've grown so much. It's painful to me. Like, I'm happy that people love that book. I really, really am. And I'm glad that I had the ability to bring that to the audience. But when they read me now, when those fans read the same chapter again and see how deep I take them into the exact same story they already love, they are also very excited that I'm rewriting the story. So I don't know. We'll see if it works, but this is my plan. I mean, the book comes out next year.
Okay. And give them website and any social media where they can follow you so they know when it does come out.
Yeah, everything is on Maxwell Alexander Drake, but and they can even go to maxwellalexanderdrake.com. It'll take them to my actual website, but my actual website is Starving Writer Studio, all singular, and that's my hub. That's where you can get links to all my teaching stuff, my podcasts, my everything, and then also all my fiction, because I'm also the official writer for Harn World, which is the oldest fantasy role-playing setting in the industry. They've been in business 43 years. They've never brought in a writer to write in their world until last year when the owner read me and then called me up and wanted me to write in their world. So now I'm writing in their world. I've got my first story for Harn World's out. I've got another one coming out in a couple months for them. So most of my time right now is I was hired to write 3 movies for a studio. So I'm in the throes of that. But yeah, I write. I mean, so Starving Writer Studio is the hub where you'll get everything.
Yeah, and I'll have that linked up on the show description. So Maxwell Alexander Drake, Genesis of Oblivion is the book. It'll be, when it comes out, it'll be on the website. I have everything linked up on that show description for you guys. Maxwell, thanks a lot for coming on. Like I told you at Comic-Con, both of your stories are great, both the Genesis story and also your own story. And like I said, glad you're still here with us, and you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
And that's it for this week, at least. Next week, and yes, for sure this time, it's the issues of the day. So do come on back next week because we will, and there will be a we, speak more geek. Talk to you then.
While you wait for next week's episode, you can visit the show online at thegeekspeakshow.com. There, you'll find links for the guests, info about Henry and Sean Clegg, and links to all of the show's social media. Tell your friends that there's a show out there that doesn't hate everything and still finds the fun in anything that we read, watch, or experience. Henry and Sean Clegg will be back next week. But if they're not back by dawn...
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. If we're not back by dawn, call the president.
The Geek Speak Show, Volume 2 was produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC.